My parents demanded return the $50,000 or don't come home, so I gave them a reason to mean it. I was still holding the casserole dish when my father told me never to come home again. It was chicken and wild rice, her favorite. I'd spent 3 hours making it the night before, using Mom's handwritten recipe from the stained index card she'd kept in that old wooden box for 30 years. The one with the extra bay leaf and that oddly specific quarter cup of white wine she swore made all the difference. I'd driven 4 hours through a rainstorm to bring it to her, just like I did every Thanksgiving. It was tradition. I was home. Or so I thought. We hadn't even finished setting the table yet. The turkey was still resting on the counter. The green bean casserole was bubbling in the vintage Pyrex dish Mom only used for holidays. And I was still standing there, still smiling, still gripping that warm dish when Dad said, "Give back the $50,000, Morgan. Or don't bother coming home again." At first, I genuinely thought I'd misheard him. Maybe it was some weird joke I didn't understand. Dad wasn't the type for dramatics, and Thanksgiving wasn't supposed to be the stage for family confrontations. Not in our house. Not ever. But nobody laughed. Brittany sat across from me, hands folded like she was posing for a church directory photo. My brother Connor stared down at his plate like it held the answers to life's greatest mysteries. Even Mom, gentle, soft-spoken Mom who'd never raised her voice at anyone in her life, wouldn't look at me. I didn't sit down. Couldn't. The casserole dish was starting to burn my palms through the oven mitts, suddenly feeling like it weighed 50 pounds. I stared at it like maybe it could explain what was happening. "Excuse me." I finally managed. Dad's jaw tightened, that vein in his temple pulsing the way it did when he was trying to stay calm. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, Morgan. What exactly are you accusing me of?" Brittany looked up then. Her eyes were bloodshot, mascara smudged at the corners like she'd been crying all morning. But her voice came out clear and sharp. "Mom's savings account. $50,000 disappeared last month. Right after you helped her set up that online banking app." My mouth opened. Nothing came out. It was true that I'd helped Mom with her accounts. She'd been anxious about going digital, something about not trusting computers with her money. So I'd spent a Sunday afternoon walking her through everything. The app, the passwords, the security questions. She'd even written it all down in a little spiral notebook she kept in the kitchen junk drawer. That was 5 weeks ago. Just 5 weeks. And now they were standing here telling me that was when I robbed her. "Are you serious right now?" I whispered. "You actually think I stole from Mom?" Connor finally spoke, his voice tight. We didn't want to believe it. But the bank confirmed the money was taken online. Nobody else had access to her account, Morgan. Nobody but you. I looked at Mom. She didn't flinch. Didn't nod. Didn't shake her head. Just picked up her napkin and pressed it against her lips like she might throw up. That's when it really hit me. The casserole. The rain. The 4-hour drive. None of it mattered. I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was a criminal in their eyes. I set the dish down slowly on the counter. The ceramic clicked against the granite, unnaturally loud in the silence. I picked up my coat from the chair where I'd draped it 20 minutes earlier, back when I still belonged here. I didn't say a word. "You have until Friday," Dad said quietly behind me. "Then we're calling our attorney." I woke up before dawn. No alarm, just muscle memory from years of early morning case reviews. I'd learned one fundamental truth in my career: money doesn't vanish. It just moves. And whoever moved it always leaves tracks. I made a cup of terrible hotel lobby coffee and opened my laptop at the small desk by the window. My firm had been working on a case for the past 3 months, a pattern of elder financial abuse targeting retirees across the Midwest. Modest savings accounts drained in carefully structured withdrawals, each one just under $10,000 to avoid federal reporting requirements. Multiple banks were involved, but one name kept appearing more than others. Lakeside Community Bank. Mom's bank. I hadn't mentioned to my family that I was part of this investigation. Client confidentiality. But I had clearance to access transaction records through our internal database, and I knew exactly who could pull the details I needed. I sent a message to Trevor, our compliance analyst. Just a name, an account number, and a date range. Within 90 minutes, I had everything. Transaction logs. Withdrawal timestamps. Teller records. 3 withdrawals from Mom's account, spaced exactly 6 days apart. First, $20,000. Second, $15,000. Third, $15,000. Each one processed in person. Not online. That was the first crack in their story. They'd accused me of using online banking, said I was the only one with digital access. But if the money was taken at the bank counter, it couldn't have been me. I'd been in Chicago for all 3 dates, documented in my office building security logs. I clicked on the security footage link Trevor had attached. The first video loaded slowly. Lakeside Community Bank, October 12, 2:47 p.m. A young woman approached the teller window, glancing over her shoulder like she expected someone to stop her. Blonde hair pulled back, oversized sunglasses, gray hoodie pulled up. At first, I thought maybe they'd hired someone. A stranger paid to impersonate Mom. Then the woman pulled down her face mask to speak to the teller. Brittany. Even with the grainy footage, I'd know that face anywhere. I'd taught her how to ride a bike. Helped her study for her SATs. Loaned her money when her last 3 jobs didn't work out. She was fidgeting with her phone, tapping it against the counter. She handed over what looked like Mom's driver's license and signed something on the teller's screen. That signature, I'd seen it on birthday cards for years. I leaned back in the desk chair. The lamp flickered above me. They hadn't just stolen the money. They'd orchestrated it. Waited until I helped Mom go digital, then used that as cover to pin it all on me. I opened the second video. October 18th, same branch. This time it was Connor. No disguise, no nervousness. He was actually joking with the teller, laughing like they were old friends. Signed the withdrawal slip like he'd done it 100 times. Third video, Brittany again. Same hoodie, different sunglasses. The audacity made my hands shake. But there was still a missing piece. How did they get Mom's ID and account information in the first place? Then I remembered. 3 weeks before I helped Mom set up her app, she'd had outpatient testing at Northwestern Memorial. Nothing serious, just some routine scans her doctor wanted. Brittany had volunteered to stay with her overnight. Mom's purse had been with her the entire time. Her checkbook, her bank statements, her license. That's where it started. I checked the metadata from Mom's account setup. The first login after I'd left town didn't come from Mom's phone. It came from a tablet registered to the home Wi-Fi network. The same IP address Brittany used for her Netflix account. And the one-time verification code? Sent to an alternate email address I definitely hadn't set up. The recovery phone number belonged to Connor. They weren't just sloppy. They were arrogant. They genuinely believed no one would question them. Not when the successful daughter made such an obvious suspect. Not when the whole family stood united against her. I closed the laptop and sat in the silence. This wasn't desperation. This wasn't a loan gone wrong. This was calculated fraud. And they'd used my love for Mom as camouflage. I picked up my phone. Didn't call the police. Not yet. I called Trevor back instead. Asked him to send me something specific. Printed copies of the teller signatures and transaction records. I'd need them for what came next. Then I pulled out my leather portfolio, the one I used for courtroom testimony. If my family wanted a villain, I'd show them what it looked like when the villain kept receipts. I didn't call ahead. Just got in my Accord Monday afternoon and drove back through the same rain-soaked highways, past the same exit signs, toward the same house that didn't feel like home anymore. The driveway was full when I arrived. Connor's Ford Explorer, Brittany's beat-up Civic, Mom's Camry. No guests. Just family. I parked at the curb and sat there for a moment, engine ticking down, hands resting on the leather portfolio in my lap. Inside it was every receipt, every timestamp, every lie they thought nobody would catch. Then I got out, walked up the porch steps, and let myself in with the key I'd had since I was 16. The house smelled like chicken soup and fresh bread. I could hear voices in the kitchen, the sound of someone loading the dishwasher, a laugh that didn't include me anymore. I found them all gathered around the island. Brittany was perched on the counter with a coffee mug, legs swinging like she was 12 again. Connor leaned against the refrigerator, arms crossed. Mom stood at the sink drying a pot with slow, methodical movements. Dad was checking something on his phone. They all looked up when I walked in. Everything stopped. I crossed the kitchen and set the portfolio on the island where we used to decorate Christmas cookies. Then I opened it. "You believed I stole from Mom," I said quietly. "Let me show you what actually happened." The temperature in the room dropped. I could feel it. I pulled out the first photo, a still from the bank security footage. Britney in sunglasses, leaning over a teller's counter, signing a form. October 12th. $20,000. Not online. Not me. Nobody moved. Not even Britney. I laid down the second photo. Connor in a navy pullover, smiling at the camera, handing something to the teller. October 18th. 15,000. My voice was steady, but my hands weren't. These weren't strangers in the photos. These were the people I'd grown up with. The people I'd trusted with everything. Britney's fingers tightened around her coffee mug. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I placed the transaction slips on the counter. Same branch. Same signatures. I matched them against your handwriting, Britney. From that grocery list on the fridge. A long silence filled the kitchen. Finally, Britney spoke. Her voice came out thin, defensive. You went through our stuff. I tilted my head slightly. You went through Mom's. Mom reached for the documents with shaking hands, eyes scanning the printed text. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. But the bank said it was done online. That's what they told us. That's what they thought, I said. But the actual withdrawals happened in person. The online access came later, from a tablet on your home Wi-Fi. The recovery email was linked to Connor's phone number. The silence that followed felt suffocating. Dad stopped scrolling on his phone. Britney looked away. Connor studied the floor tiles like they might offer him an escape route. You let me believe my own daughter stole from me. Mom's voice cracked. She wasn't looking at anyone specific. Maybe not even at me. You told me not to come home, I said, softer now. And you never once asked if I actually did it. That was the part that burned. Not the accusation. Not even the threat of lawyers. The fact that they'd never asked. Never doubted. Never wondered if maybe, possibly, they were wrong. Britney finally looked directly at me, and her expression wasn't guilty, it was bitter. You always get everything. The career, the praise, the respect. I just wanted to even things out. I studied her for a long moment. She looked older than she had last week. Or maybe I was finally seeing her clearly. You didn't even anything out, I said. You destroyed it. Connor cleared his throat. His voice came out flat, almost rehearsed. Mom would have been fine. You make more than all of us combined, Morgan. It wasn't personal. I let out a slow breath, fighting the chill spreading through my chest. It's always personal when it's family. Mom sat down slowly at the kitchen table, the portfolio still open in front of her. Her hands rested in her lap, palms up, like she'd forgotten what to do with them. Dad finally spoke. His voice sounded older, worn down. Morgan, what are you going to do? I met his eyes. For the first time in days, I didn't feel like the child in the room. I'm not pressing charges, I said. But I've already sent copies of everything to our family attorney. You can decide what happens next. Dad nodded once. Tired. Defeated. I zipped the portfolio closed, the sound sharp in the quiet kitchen. My hands moved automatically, muscle memory from hundreds of case closings and courtroom presentations. This time it felt final. You told me not to come back unless I returned the money, I said. I didn't take the money. But I brought you the truth. I let those words sit for a moment, let them sink in. Then I turned toward the door. Morgan. Mom's voice broke behind me. I paused in the doorway but didn't turn around. Thanksgiving's over, I said. You all made sure of that. I walked out without looking back. Didn't take the portfolio, they could keep it. Didn't take anything except my keys and whatever piece of me still thought they might choose me over their own version of events. I didn't drive away immediately. I sat in my car at the curb for a while, watching the kitchen window. Nobody came after me. The lights stayed on. Britney's bitter laugh didn't return. Connor didn't open the door to say anything. Nobody ran down the driveway to apologize. And that silence told me everything I needed to know. Back in Chicago, everything felt sharper somehow. Colder. I returned to work like nothing had happened, but I wasn't the same person who'd driven home for Thanksgiving. I stopped calling on Sunday nights. Left the family group chat on mute. Let the voicemail notification sit on my phone for 4 days before I finally listened to it. It was from Mom. Morgan. We were wrong. I know that now. I didn't want to believe it could be them. I'm sorry. I don't expect you to forgive us. I just wanted you to know. Her voice caught. The house feels empty without you. She hung up before the minute was over. 2 weeks passed. Then a letter arrived. Real paper, real envelope. Inside was a photograph. Me, Brittany, and Connor as kids, maybe 7, 9, and 11 years old, sitting on the back deck in mismatched Halloween costumes. I was dressed as a witch. Brittany had cardboard robot armor. Connor was covered in fake vampire blood. On the back, in Mom's handwriting, "We didn't know how much we'd miss you until you were gone." No signature. No explanation. Connor didn't reach out. Brittany didn't either. But according to my aunt who still lived nearby, they'd both moved out of the house. Mom had stopped speaking to them, said she needed space to process everything. I didn't ask what that meant. Didn't offer to come back and fix it. Instead, I built something new. I started teaching a weekend workshop at Harold Washington College, Financial Protection Strategies for Seniors. It wasn't glamorous, but it felt like something I could control. Something good. One Saturday after class, an older woman came up to me and said, "I wish I had a daughter like you." I smiled politely. Didn't say what I was thinking, so did mine. Once. December came and went. No tree. No phone calls. No annual ornament exchange I used to coordinate every year. There's a particular kind of grief nobody prepares you for, the kind that comes not from death, but from realizing the people you love chose someone else's version of you over your actual self. And once they made that choice, once they decided who you were in their story, they couldn't take it back. Not really. I still keep the portfolio. Not on my desk at work, not anywhere visible. Just in a drawer near my bookshelf, underneath old tax returns and a copy of my mortgage papers. I haven't opened it since that Monday in their kitchen. I don't need to. Because the facts haven't changed. Neither have I. And neither, I suspect, have they. 3 months after Thanksgiving, I got a text from Connor. Just 3 words, "I'm sorry, Morgan." I read it twice. Didn't respond. Brittany sent a longer message a week later, full of explanations and excuses. How she was drowning in credit card debt, how she'd panicked, how she'd never meant for it to go this far. She said Connor convinced her it would be fine, that I wouldn't even notice, that I had more than enough. I deleted it without finishing. Mom calls sometimes. Brief conversations about the weather, about her garden, about nothing that matters. She never asks when I'm coming home. I think she knows the answer. Dad sent a check 2 months ago. $50,000, made out to me with "I'm sorry" written in the memo line. I deposited it into a college fund, not for me, for my future, whatever that looks like. Maybe for the kids I might have someday. Maybe for something else. But not for them. Because this was never about the money. It was about the moment they looked at me, their daughter, their sister, someone who'd spent decades proving her integrity, and decided I was capable of stealing from the woman who raised me. It was about the choice they made before they had all the facts. It was about the pie I baked, the casserole I carried, the 4-hour drive in the rain, and how none of it mattered when weighed against their need for an easy answer. I don't hate them. That's the strange part. I'm not even angry anymore. Just distant. Like looking at people I used to know in an old photograph. Last week, my boss asked if I wanted to transfer to our Denver office. Better pay, better title, fresh start. I said yes without hesitation. Sometimes the truth sets you free. And sometimes freedom looks like closing a door you never thought you'd have to lock. I'm Morgan. I'm 36 years old. I'm a forensic accountant who knows how to follow the money and find the truth. And the truth is this: the family I thought I had ended the moment they asked me to prove my innocence instead of trusting it. I don't need to prove anything anymore. I already know who I am.